Welcome back to Son of Chelsea. Daniel Childs here. Team selector time for the game against Southampton tomorrow. A game that I do think, Chelsea kind of no excuses have to be winning against the team that's bottom of the league, as we're going to get into a team that offers you, I think, a lot of great opportunities to score, which from an attacking point of view maybe offers a great opportunity to a Chelsea team that is full of confidence, has been playing well. But then I also think there is a dynamic with this game because it's a midweek one. You've got the Spurs game coming up at the weekend. And because of the flurry of games that are imminent for Chelsea, like with a lot of teams at this time of the year, does Enzo Maresca ponder a little bit of rotation? Even though I guess common consensus from Chelsea fans would be, well, do you really want to change a team that's just performed that well? However, you have to factor in injuries, you have to factor in suspensions, you have to factor in just fresh legs at this time of the year, which is, kind of an awkward conversation or kind of inconvenient when you're looking at the form of players. So we'll look at Southampton, their struggle so far this year, how Chelsea can exploit them. And then also, of course, I'll be giving you my predicted lineup. The first thing to do on team selectors we always do is the team news. Nothing that shocking, no new injury additions really. The two players that we know were going to be out of this game, Wesley Fofana and Reece James, are still out. Obviously Fofana the most recent after coming off from Sunday's game, but we knew post-game, Maresca said as much in his press conference after Villa that it wasn't looking good, and we know now it's not looking good, and it's going to be at least a month, I would say, until we see him back on the pitch. Maybe similar timescale actually to Reece James, though I think it's more likely we see Fofana sooner than Reece James, unfortunately, given Reece James' long-term injury problems. Other than that, it's good that we walk into this game with a lot of options. And I think the big question moving into this period without Fofana, who has basically been a consistent starter in the Premier League for Enzo Maresca so far, is who takes his place. I feel like there's an obvious answer here, but it may surprise us a little how some players maybe find their way into this first team. Let's look at Southampton, who obviously haven't been doing well this year. Russell Martin bringing them up straight back from relegation, obviously 2 seasons ago, and bottom of the league, 20th, top goal scorer Adam Armstrong, whose goal got them to the Premier League in the playoff final recently, and sort of looking at this 5-3-2 formation, it's been a very difficult time. I mean, you just look at the numbers so far: 19th for goals per match, they're 18th for goals conceded per match, 19th for long balls. And the reason I point out is because they play such a dogmatic short passing game, which causes them so many problems. They are first for XG conceded. The funny thing about this game is Chelsea and Southampton, it's a top of the league clash for yellow cards so far this year. I also think Southampton are not very good with set pieces. But the undeniable thing about Southampton so far this year, and I've not got anything massive against Southampton as a club. I don't have anything against Russell Martin, who I think done a fine job last year. It's this insistence and this stupidity, them deciding to play out from the back, them conceding a number of goals this season. I just compiled a few screenshots from Wyscout that I'll pop up on the screen now. If Chelsea get these opportunities tomorrow, I think Chelsea will win the game pretty comfortably, or at least they will have the opportunity to win the game pretty comfortably. And I think it symbolises maybe an issue I have in the current game, that this dogmatic belief that you have to play this style of football, and even if it's costing you objectively week in, week out, making you look stupid, the players are being exposed, it is costing you severely in a number of games where you're winning away at Arsenal when you do something stupid and you lose the ball that directly leads to a goal that changes the game, or you're at home to Liverpool and you're being pressed intensely inside your own 6-yard box, but there's no flexibility. You have to keep playing that style of game. It just is an idea and a theory that I just really reject, because the idea this is sophisticated and intelligent football is just nonsense. It is some of the dumbest football I've ever seen. And it's not just Southampton. I see it across the league and also in the lower leagues as well, where I just don't know who's being, benefiting really from this, because I'm not entirely sure the Southampton players who are consistently conceding goals and doing it in such a stupid way, how is their confidence growing? But maybe they've built such a technically based squad. This is the issue as well. If you build a squad that is so based on technical ability, and it's why I stress that technical ability is part of it, but you need a physical side of it, especially in the Premier League, is when you have that, maybe you can't adjust to another system. But it's something that undeniably is costing Southampton, and it doesn't look like they're changing their format anytime soon. So maybe Chelsea can benefit, especially with the way we press so intensely. I look at players like Nicholas Jackson, Cole Palmer, who I think has been much better off the ball this season. And of course, you had the wide players like Pedro Neto, who's a willing presser, Noni Madueke. Even Enzo Fernandez will sometimes go quite high up to win the ball back. Chelsea are good pressers. And if there is that space or that unwillingness for Southampton to adjust, and Chelsea have an ability to press them back into their own 6-yard box, the mistakes are there because they have been there so far this year, and they'll probably keep doing it. And it's whether Chelsea, if they get the opportunity, can capitalise. So I feel like the big question for Maresca starting 11 here is whether you adjust. Now, I'm of the belief that because of the performance we saw on Sunday that was so convincing, one of the best Premier League performances. I saw some of your comments. You thought it was one of the best ones we've had in years. I wouldn't completely argue against that. It's not like we have tons to go off in recent times. It was a complete performance. It is a different game. It is a different level of opponent. However, I think the players look really comfortable in this three-back system where you have the three, you have the two in central midfield that kind of hold, and you have the two number 10s, wide players, and then Nicholas Jackson up top. You don't want to veer too much away from that. My big concern is Nicholas Jackson, really, not in terms of goal scoring, in terms of his yellow card record, because I still think he's only one away from a suspension. And I would have preferred he got that yellow card on Sunday, so he missed this game. It's just that fear. The annoying thing about Jackson is nearly all of his yellows come in the most stupid ways possible. If he can cut that out of his game, I think one of the biggest frustrations of him, from me personally, will erode, because he should not be anywhere close to being suspended, because it's not like he's a player that puts in a load of filthy challenges. You know, he's a smart presser, he's an intelligent presser. It's kind of kicking the ball away, arguing with the referee when he doesn't need to. So hopefully he can get through this, so then we can have him on Sunday, because, I mean, he is arguably one of Chelsea's most important players for our system. I don't think we can afford to lose him for Spurs personally. But let's go into the starting 11. Obviously, Robert Sanchez performed really well, arguably one of his most convincing all-round performances, especially on the ball. So he'll keep his place. The back three, the reason I'm saying a back three, of course, it will be written out as a back four, but in possession, Chelsea are basically playing a back three. And it was the most obvious it's been all season. I think actually the last two games, it's been the most obvious Chelsea are playing in a back three, even more so than earlier in the year. Like, if you're watching Chelsea, you can spot it a mile away how Chelsea look to build up. It can adjust, and especially when you have Caicedo, who's a natural midfielder moving centrally, I think it looks even more like a back three for a majority of the game, even sometimes out of possession. But I feel like Badiashile will come in here. Badiashile has been the best of the rest in recent weeks. Now, I think playing a back three where you effectively have three left footers is a unique approach. We haven't seen it that much. There isn't much of a tendency of coaches at times to play that number of left-footed players all in one go, because sometimes maybe you're limiting your angles on a certain side. But I feel like Badiashile, just from a defensive point of view, has just impressed a little bit more than Tosin, and clearly more than Disasi. So I think Badiashile will come in alongside Levi Colwill and Marco Correa, who of course can still verge forward into kind of that inverted left back role that he does very comfortably. Lavia and Caicedo, I think, will continue as the midfield two. Madueke, I think, may be the one attacker or wide player that comes in here. I don't think Neto had an amazing game on Sunday, and I just think it's the kind of double kind of priority here of rotation, but also competition, right? I think Madueke will want to push to get back into the team, and I could maybe see him getting some minutes here, and then it hits it back on, Neto. Can you respond? I feel like most people will naturally go with Pedro Neto because we did win on Sunday and he was a starting player, but I just wonder whether Madueke, for that intensity, for that connection he has, and all round still doing good things. I think it's just the output that unfortunately hasn't been as consistent as we would have liked it so far this year. And then obviously Palmer, and then the way I've got it written down is you have Palmer in kind of that inside right channel, Enzo as kind of an advanced 8 / number 10, can drop a little bit deeper. Enzo is going to keep on playing because he's in the best form. I mean, if he makes it like 3 goals in 3, this is the best form of his Chelsea career. I mean, in terms of consistent performances, having 2 in a row is pretty strong, and undeniably he's going to be a starter for this game, I think. I'd be stunned if... The only reason I think you'd rest someone like Enzo Fernandez is purely for fitness reasons. In terms of form, he should be starting the game. And then I think I'm going to keep Jadon Sancho. I like Sancho. I like the way he drifts inside. I think he offers space for, say, Cucurella to move out wide. And I just want to see Sancho maybe dominate things a little bit more. I know I bring this up consistently. I just see Sancho getting some really good areas. And I don't know if it's a confidence thing. It sometimes feels like maybe he's a little bit too reserved, or he kind of goes in the opposite direction where he's trying a little bit too much. It's just finding that right balance with Sancho that I think could make him an even better Chelsea player. And then, of course, Jackson, who at the moment scoring the goals. Can he make it 3-3? And just please avoid a yellow card. Don't kick the ball away unnecessarily. And hopefully, if it's a good night for Chelsea, we can take him off quite early. Maybe give substantial minutes to Felix or Nkunku, and then we can have him ready for Sunday against Spurs. So Chelsea, there's no excuses. 3 points has to be the result here. Chelsea need to win this game. It puts pressure on the teams below them. You know, it adds to what has been a strong start to this very important block of the season. And especially with Anthony Taylor now being announced as the ref for Sunday's game, that's a night where we can approach later in the week. Hopefully Chelsea can set up for the weekend in the best way possible. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below, and I will see you again very soon. All the best.